Welcome to this week's episode of the Dance to Oneness podcast. We're episode 20, and today's show is called Recovery of You, with my good Irish friend, Sue Cotter, is here with me today. And Sue Cotter is recently become a Right Recovery for You facilitator, and she's also an Access Consciousness Facilitator. I also called her an energy wizard and a forest queen because she lives in the forest in Ireland and she talks to trees and she's very magical. And today I have her on the show really just to talk about recovery and what is recovery for you, Sue? So welcome.
Thanks. I'm so delighted to be here. Dance to Oneness podcast. I love it. Recovery for me, really, for me, it's like any place where you cut parts and pieces of you off, whether it be, I know for me as young as being like in school, I remember maybe I was too much. So I would have, stopped parts of me, my personality, who I was, because I was too much so that I wouldn't make other people uncomfortable. Teachers, nuns, whoever that was. I also see where, recovery of you can be, after a relationship breakup. Sometimes when we get together and it becomes, two becomes one. And it's like, where we do everything together and, then maybe it moves on to kids. And this is another part of it, recovering you after having children. There's so many, and most people will hear recovery of you and they'll go straight to drink, drugs, sex, gambling, food, and judgment, whatever that is. There's so much more, them too, and there's so much more, but it's really about discovering the parts of you that maybe got lost within a relationship, or like, maybe someone died. Maybe like it was a parent died or a loss of a child, and it's just really for me, it's about recovering those parts and pieces of you that maybe you don't feel together. And it's just about exploring that and discovering, and also discovering maybe what you like in that moment. Maybe it's not like what you loved at 5 that now you like again at 45. It's like discovering the new things that you actually are like now, because we change all the time. So it's about like, what is it that I actually like now?
I love that. We also have, it's funny, just as we got on, our other two Irish friends are here, Rachel and Cindy, in the chat. And so it's interesting, like we both grew up in Ireland and, Irish people are associated with drinking and we are a big drinking culture. And there is a lot of like, I suppose, addiction in Ireland, like there is anywhere. So like, how did addiction like affect you growing up?
For me, the home that I lived in with my mother and father, I'm the youngest of 7. So there was 9 of us in a terraced house, which meant that it wasn't semi-detached or detached. It was a 3-bed house with 9 of us. And my nan lived with us as well, right? So she actually had her own room. I don't even know how that got managed, but she had her own room. And like my father was an alcoholic from a very young age. And when we were all living together, it was always that energy of waiting for the next trauma, waiting for the next argument, like waiting for the next, fight, or, something went missing from the house. It was always being on guard, always ready to, for me, I suppose I would have escaped being out playing. So I would have been out playing all the time. And I suppose for me, like even going to school, people would have known, because we came from a very small area. So where everybody knew everybody and everyone was kind of going to the same school. So people would have known who I was and who my father was. And I suppose that was something that I was very much aware of, how people would receive me and how they would, when they would meet me, I was really aware of where I would try to hide that this was going on, and I would be the clown and try and make everyone laugh. but they actually knew it, and they would show me that energy when they met me. Oh, that's the girl that her father gets arrested all the time, or the police come to their house all the time, like 7 nights a week or whatever. And that's where that energy started to come in, where I started to perform. I started to become like maybe the Joker, to actually hide what was going on.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of home you grew up in. It's like we all take on these roles of like, which coping mechanisms, right? You know, we talk a lot in Right Recovery for You about coping mechanisms. And that's really what addiction is. Like, whether it's, like you said, relationship, being a mother, like over mothering your kids, you know,
Totally.
eating, drinking. It's all these coping mechanisms we use to deal like with all our awareness in the world. And
Totally. And the fitting in part as well, you know, it's like, you know, like really, how many people do you know that said to you, oh my God, Amy, show me how different you are when you were a kid. Show me all the things you can do different. And I know where I grew up, it was a lot of, you know, if somebody saw a child with a pair of shoes, they would bring their child in to get the pair of shoes so that they'd all have the same in the terrace, you know, so that nobody got to be above anyone else. Everybody had to have the same shoes, or, you know, the same, but yet it was so different too. How, like me growing up in a home where this was going on, and if I got a new pair of shoes, the friend up the road, her mother would go and buy her the same shoes as me. It was so interesting how that shows up. I was like, why would somebody want to be like me, you know? And I was trying to get away from me.
yeah, it's interesting. And that's actually a common thing in Ireland, where you're actually really all supposed to stay the same. And it's very much like if you get too different, too big, too out of the box, you're very quickly like told, you know, you're wrong for that. Who do you think you are? You know, you think you're above everyone else. So, and I know a lot of cultures are like that, not just Ireland, but for us growing up in Ireland, that's a very big energy we live with.
Yeah, totally. And you don't like, it's like, I knew as a young child that I was very different. I mean, at a very young age, even when my nan died, I knew that I was still communicating with her when she had left, right? That wasn't weird to me, but I was aware that it wasn't something that I was going to say out in the street, right? It wasn't really a weird thing in my house either, because we had this kind of like, it was okay for us to be very witchy in the house, or, you know, kind of talk about those stories, the Irish old stories, and that was all okay to talk about that. And there was also that energy of that, if you were willing to actually stand out, that wasn't a good thing. So you really had to like make sure that you didn't stand out. And not standing out from I'm better, but standing out from the difference that you be, or something that you can actually do with your body that maybe somebody else can't do. But like there was no like, oh my God, you can do that, you know? So therefore I see like from young ages, we start to cut off the parts and pieces and the talents, abilities, and capacities that we have, because it's not received. And that's where now I'm at 45, I'm starting to discover these talents and capacities. One of them is that I can actually, like, I can talk, right? And like and I'm really aware, most of my life, I probably would have been trying to stop talking, because in school I was called Mouth of the South.
Oh.
So that label stuck to me, right? But that label stuck to me. But now I'm actually looking at it going, what if I was the Mouth of the South? I wonder what we could create here, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, that's brilliant. Where we're from in Ireland, we're both from like the most southern part of Ireland, south, like Cork, which is down south. So that's what she was called, the Mouth of the South. She's Mouth of the county she was from. And so that's so amazing. Like you would take that as a wrongness as a child,
Yeah.
you know, like that you were being too much, and you know you were like probably also like taking attention from other people, which is never good either, you know.
Yeah.
And but now if you look at it, like, yeah, you actually have a lot of really great things to say, you know. What if you're
Yeah.
willing to be the loudest voice?
Well, that's it. I love that. What if you're willing to be the loudest voice? And actually, Amy, that's interesting that you say that, right? So, what I've really learned in the last few years, because I started this seeking journey, I don't even know what you call it, just like finding out more about me probably in the last 7, 8 years, 9 years maybe. And now I really get how it doesn't actually have to be verbal. Like you being the loudest energy in the room, you don't actually have to speak. But you being you and your energy and your potency and your magic and actually being you can actually be as loud as anything.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And like, so how, just to like track back a bit, like how did addiction like start showing up for you? Like what ways? Because I think there's so many myths around addiction and recovery, and I'd really like to maybe just address a small of it today. And I think you and me are going to have to, you know, we're going to see that a lot in facilitating right recovery for you classes, is that there is a lot of like people have already defined what addiction is and they've already decided what recovery is. And like a lot of people do, well, oh, that doesn't apply to me, you know, but like actually it does. It applies to everyone, because if you live in this world, you
Absolutely.
know, you've dealt with it. It has shown up in some way. So what are the ways like that they've shown up for you that might not be obvious to like someone else?
Well, it's interesting because I suppose one that's very much around this whole globe is where people are addicted to judging their bodies, right? And that one is actually where it's become so normal that people actually truly believe that that is how you create your body. That is how you actually, that is how you live in your body. That's the way it's done. Judgment is the way you live for the rest of your life, judging your body. I'm too thin, I'm too fat, I shouldn't eat the pizza, I'll put up weight, there's too many calories in it. Oh my God, look at my hips. Somebody said when you were younger, you're very like your father's people. Oh my God, I've created my body exactly like my father's people. Yeah, sure, I am like my father's people. Right?
So do people become addicted to judging their bodies?
Totally. I mean, like, actually, like, really, if we're brought up in a world where you're not seen as your difference and actually received as your difference, but yet you're constantly told, look at such and such a person up the road. Oh my God, isn't she beautiful? How much do we take that on as young kids? Oh, I must look like that. Oh, my
Comparison.
body. Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, so is comparing yourself to others an addiction?
Totally. Comparing yourself to others. I know. I know. Oh my God. Yeah, totally. And comparing yourself to others. And also, what if that was just about you not acknowledging you and the difference that you be, your uniqueness, right? Because we wouldn't actually compare ourselves to other people if we got to know who we really are. And if we got to actually receive ourselves and the difference that we be. Like the bum that I have is different to the bum you have, right? Like the boobs I have are different to your boobs. And it's like, what if and it's okay if you wish to change them. It's okay if you wish to have a different size, booty or whatever that is. But what if we didn't have to judge ourselves into existence with our bodies? What if we didn't have to poke at ourselves, judge ourselves, the litany of judgment, the stretch marks on the thighs. And actually, like, I suppose one of the biggest things for me is that somebody asked me one day, would you actually speak to your child like that? And I was like, no. And for what reason would you speak to you like that? And it's like, because we're adults, we think like, that's it. Like, that's just the way you do it. But what if there was another way?
It becomes acceptable.
Acceptable. And it's the norm. It's the norm in this reality.
you'll even find, like, because living in Ireland, when you meet people, like, that's how they relate to each other. It's like or sure, like, yeah, I put on all those. Now the new thing, I hear my mother, yeah, I have the COVID pounds. I have the COVID pounds on. My mother's tiny, like, so it's like, but it becomes that, like, that's that conversation, like, that you relate to other people. That's how you talk to each other, and so it's actually becomes just like an unconscious thing. Like, people aren't even conscious that they're doing it. And what other ways, like, is there any other kind of stuff that showed up for you where you didn't even realize that you were, like, where you were actually in a way addicted?
Well, I suppose another one would have been food. Another one that I actually am, like, and I won't even say challenged with it. I am really discovering me and me and food. We're actually really working on that relationship. Like, I'm really working with, like, that, as in, I suppose, really with my body, asking questions, instead of actually, like, I learned that if I got uncomfortable, in a room, there was a thing that I would do, that I would maybe go to somewhere, maybe to get some food, or I could drink the wine faster. And it would be just about to get rid of that information, get rid of that awareness. Because when you're really aware, like, everybody is aware, and it's like, how much when you get some information, and your body is receiving information all of the time. So if you're receiving information, and if it's something that maybe when you were younger, it was like maybe something that you were told not to acknowledge that, or it didn't happen, something, maybe if there was like a tense energy in the house, and you come into the house and you're like, oh my God, what's that? Is there something going on? And then maybe your mother, or your father, your sister, your brother, or whoever, Uncle Johnny, says, no, nothing. And if there had been a big, huge fight in the house before that, right? Then you go up and you start walking into rooms, and there's a tense energy there. And you have now, at that stage, probably through your life, you've dismissed that awareness because you got it maybe wrong when you were younger. So therefore you're not aware, you dismiss the awareness, and then maybe you've used something to give you a bit of comfort, to take you away from that. So for me, it would have been like wine. Like, if I was at parties, I would have drank really fast, and the food, I would have went out to maybe the kitchen or wherever it was going on, and I would have had some food. But actually, I would have chosen certain foods, either really, really sweet foods, or very, very creamy foods. It wouldn't have been just anything, or very spicy. It would be like, that would actually distract me from what was going on. So it's always been like, even now, I'm very much like in the question all of the time with my body. Not all the time now, not all the time, but like most of the time. And like, when I'm not, I will become aware of it. And I will actually, say to myself, okay, so you just chose that. There's no judging in it. But it's like, okay, what can we actually do now? What can we choose now? And it's mostly asking questions and asking my body what it actually wants to eat. Some people think that's really weird. How do you ask your body? Your body doesn't answer you. Your body is actually like, it's a sensory organ which actually can communicate with you so well. Like, when people talk about their gut, and they're like, my gut told me, or whatever way people say that, like, for me, like, some people get it in their belly. How much do we actually receive information in that area, and how much do we try and cut it off by eating and filling up our bellies, with not even what our bodies actually really want to eat or drink?
Yeah.
And
like, one of the things too, I know about you and me too, like, we've done a lot of access bars, which is it's a body process, and other body processes from Access Consciousness. From the first day we met, we took a foundation class together, and I think right after that, you and me would meet on a regular basis, and we would trade. We would do an exchange of bars and body work. MTBSS is this incredible body process that literally, like, allows your cells to go back to the way they were before they were, like, kind of almost damaged, like before you grew up in the world. So you almost like go back to like having that body, that embodiment you had as a baby, totally
The
free
bubbly.
and joyful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you and me went and took a 3-day body class, and we traded body processes like every week, sometimes twice a week.
Yeah.
Sometimes more. And I know that for me, and I know I probably was the same for you too, I've seen it, is that body work gifted me presence with my body. So I could not actually, so then when awareness would come, or I'd be in an awkward position, I couldn't go and drink or overeat or smoke or do whatever addiction to try and get away from the awareness. Like I was too in my body now, like, so one of the things we talk about in Right Recovery for You, which I think is a massive key element, and it's missing in all the traditional recovery like methods today, is that until you actually embody, until you have embodiment, you cannot actually recover. And that is like, there's a really low percentage of recovery rate for AA. And I work in a treatment center here in Delray Beach, and the amount of people that just are coming back. I met a guy the other day and he goes, yeah, I've been in and out since I've been 16. He's 33 right now. I'm like, wow. I was like, so what you're doing hasn't been working? And he goes, no. And I was like, is it time for something different? He's like, yeah. I was like, yeah. But like none of them are taught about embodiment. Nobody is introduced to body work. Nobody's introduced to tools that actually gets them in their body. And so what, like, where have you seen that, like, gift, like, where have you seen that,
Well, I love what you're talking about here, because the one that I had spoken to yesterday on a call that I had with some people, and it was like, when you connect to your body, all addiction falls away.
Boom.
Like it's something Marilyn Bradford talked about on a recent Recovery of You class. It's like, when you are communicating with your body, when you're connected to your body, let's rewind there. When you even know you're in a body, that's the beginning. Because a lot of people that are in addiction, or have maybe some trauma in their lives, or something going on in their lives, like maybe, and a lot of shows up with PTSD as well, post-traumatic stress disorder, maybe after an accident or a death or whatever. Like, a lot of the times we can actually leave our bodies, as in we may actually make something outside of us the source of giving us that comfort. And then we come away from the source, which is our bodies, us, and we step outside that, and then we may run to judgment, drink, maybe a traumatic, like, I don't know, like whatever that is, like I don't even know how to word that, like upset, right? That upset in your life when it comes to everything, and I know that when we do connect to our bodies, it's like Rachel O'Brien, she said it a couple of years ago, we come home. I mean, like, and we go searching everywhere for that comfort, or for that caring, or for that like, that's something that will hold us. And we search outside of us for that. And then it's like, one day you realize that it's you. And it's you have the awareness, you have the body that you're in. Because when somebody is drinking, or they're taking drugs, or they're overeating or whatever, like, look at your body is everywhere with you, right? So your body is actually involved in everything that you choose. So your body will become affected by whatever you're choosing to put into it. Now, it can be the effect of like joy, or it can be the effect of where your body starts to get sick. So, like, really, it's to look at and it's not just about what we're physically putting into it, but actually energetically, the thoughts, the relentless judgment, the paranoia. Are they talking about me? Did I do something wrong? Should I have said this? Oh my God, let's replay the conversation that I had with that girl at the party the other night. Did I say something wrong? Is she out with me? It's like, yeah, it's like that relentless, I know, because I've done it so many
I know. I just want to say, like, for people who are not Irish, is she odd with me? Means like, is she mad at me? Does she not like me? Like, did I say something to upset her? Is she odd with me?
Totally. Yeah.
But also,
And like every culture will do that. Like,
yes, but that's where all addiction is rooted. All addiction stems from the judgment of you and the wrongness of you.
totally.
So you can
And
take away the drink, the drugs, you can, you can do all the spiritual work, you can do all that stuff. But if you're still constantly judging yourself, you're still addicted. You're addicted to the wrongness of you.
yeah. And judgment. I know a lot of people, like, and I said this morning to somebody, it was actually my daughter. And I was like, you do know, I said, like, we've talked about this. I was like, you do know judgment is a lie. And it's like, how real have we made judgment? How real have we made it as the way for us to live, to exist based on judgment? And if that's a lie, then how much of our lives are we living by a lie? How much of our bodies have we created based on the lie?
And you actually have to create judgment to exist here.
Wow.
This whole reality is created from judgment. So to exist here, you have to create judgment.
Oh, wow, Amy, I just got that. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
I thought you said live, and I was like, holy shit, but to exist here, yes.
It's pretty big, yeah. So you actually have to give up trying to exist in this reality.
Oh, wow.
If you'd like a different reality. And that's that, connection point to people. You're connected when you judge you. Like, how much is, your daughter, it's Jodie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's like, that age where, like, what are they all doing? They're all judging their bodies. Like, that's how they all connect to each other now. They all get together and talk about, my ass is a bit big, and like, I don't like my belly, and
yeah, totally. And now it's like, I want my ass big. That's what that's all about now.
Well,
that's all going on.
Yeah, I want implants to have a bigger ass. And so they like that they're connecting now with each other through the judgment to exist together, to fit in. And that's where you started this podcast off with, like, recovering of you, is like those places where you were being all of you, and then you told you're being too much, and who do you think you are? And you start cutting off parts and pieces of you to fit into, like, what is acceptable here. To exist here, you have to judge you. If you didn't judge you, you would have nothing to connect to with these people.
Well, there you go. And it's like, oh my God. So if you didn't judge you, you'd have nothing to actually connect to with people. So have the conversation. So when we actually learn to, I suppose, really, when we connect with our bodies and also start to trust that we know. I know that for me, I started to get that in rooms with, people that actually enjoyed being around me. I enjoyed being around them. I could be my difference. They were being their difference, and we laughed and we cried and we, talked about really kind of, I suppose, what would be classed as maybe very serious conversations in this world. But it was actually places in Cork that I actually had spaces to go there and have that energy. You were there a lot of the time. Rachel O'Brien was there a lot of the time. And then I started to, allow myself to actually indulge in conversations that were, I suppose, they kind of attracted me. And they were very different conversations. But the more I started to spend time in around classes, having my bars run, receiving the Access body work, when I was around people that they were all receiving it too, everyone was getting freer, right? So then we were all like, oh my God, yeah. Like, and there was like, the judgment was starting to decrease and lessen and lessen. But the funny thing about it was that I started to exercise that muscle in my brain that there was another possibility to be around. And then my body got happier, and then my body would remind me, hey, remember that thing we done before and we got really happy? Can we do that again? Now, guys, just saying, my body doesn't actually like speak like that. that's me taken off my body. But that's the energy, because I would receive in pictures a lot. So when I'd ask my body, okay, what will contribute to us right now? My body would show me bars, or it would show me with somebody's hand on my body, or it would show me go out and sit in the sun, receive, be in the earth, be with nature, go to the forest, be with the trees, let the universe have your back, Sue, and I started to trust me that I knew what was best for me.
Well, I mean, that's a massive piece alone that we, could do a whole show on. But like, one of the things, that I would actually like to actually start talking to the world about, and even if people don't want to hear it, one of the biggest lies in AA is that, you're powerless over alcohol. And
Wow.
That's one of the biggest lies I'd like to start busting the myths of. Because that's one of the most disempowering things you can buy. Because to say that you're powerless over a substance, even now talking about it, my belly's getting that fire, to say that you're powerless over a substance is actually to say that you don't have any power, and that something outside of you is more powerful than you. And then then you can't ever trust you. And that was a massive thing for me. Like, Sue, you remember when you met me, I spent 5 years in AA, and I got programmed really well into, that I'm powerless, that this thing is greater than me, that if I drink again, I'll drug again. And if I drink or drug again, I will fucking die, or I will end up in an insane asylum. And that was really drilled into me to the point where I bought it as real. And then, so then I never trusted me. I always had to go to someone else for an answer. Hey, ma'am, what do you think I should do about this? And you met me at the start. I used to be like, does my body want this, Sue? Does my body want that? And what does my body want? I was constantly doubting myself. I did not fucking trust myself. I had no trust in myself. And that is, one of the greatest invalidations of your being and your body is to not trust you, because you're constant. If you don't trust you, you have to constantly look outside of you for someone else to tell you what's right for you.
Yes, and yes to all of that. And I love what you just talked about, like you're powerless. And even Amy, powerless over alcohol. Is that what you said? Powerless over alcohol?
Yeah.
Even the first word, powerless, like what is it that, you've been told you're powerless over? I mean, I know there was probably a time where I actually probably thought I was powerless over my body, right? As in, this is who you are. That's who you are.
You cannot change it.
You cannot change it. So I was powerless over, it was like, do you know what it was like? It was like, I'm going to say this now. It was like that God made me. So therefore, I had made God the source of, if there was going to be any change in my body or anything happened to my body, it was God put it there. And there's a gift in it. You have to go seek that gift. But actually, nobody told me that I was the one that was the creator of my body or the creator of my life, and I really love what you just said there about the support of your being. It's like, how many people actually even know about that? And it's like, when you say your being and your body, our being, who we be in the world. And what if, that's what I really got to see, was that I had people around me that supported my being. The body stuff started to disappear. My body was my image walking into the room. Oh my God, I hope everyone likes me. Do they like my hair? Oh my God, do they like what I have on? Am I with it? Am I on trend? What way are my shoes? But actually what I was seeking was the support of my being. And how many of us have really maybe never had that? And actually, what if you could walk into wherever it was, or you found something that actually allowed you to start trusting you more, and something that allowed you to start connecting with your body more? And that's what the Access bodywork and bars have actually really added to my life. The tools, the questions, all of it. The Right Recovery for You. For me, I've only become a Right Recovery for You facilitator in, I think it was February. The journey that I'm on with that right now, and what I'm discovering about me and myself, is just in like nearly 2 months is phenomenal.
And Sue, just to mention it, because it just popped out, you do have your first Right Recovery for You class, right? A specialty topic coming up. Do you want to let everyone know about that?
So I do. So the specialty is it's the 21st of April, and I think it's 7 p.m. Irish time, which is 2 p.m. Eastern. And it's about a 90-minute to maybe 2-hour class. It's an intro class, and it's called Making Peace with Your Body. It's one of the Right Recovery for You intro classes, and there's about 6 of them there. And I'm gonna, start doing one every so often. And when it pings that energy, when it's now. But I definitely get that, when we start to learn to trust ourselves, connect with our bodies, we start to not make anything outside of us the source. We start to go in. We start to go in and actually connect with our bodies. And I see with you, with the movement, I watched a little video of you the other day with another girl. And I actually, am not joking, Amy, I watched it, I'd say 10 times. I just kept playing it. And you were dancing in the center with this girl, Star. And you were dancing with her. But I watched how you danced, and I was like, I actually think I can see fire in her belly. And you were just going for it. And I was like, oh my God. Movement, when we start to move our bodies, how much do we start to connect to all those parts and pieces, by just even touching them?
Yeah. And I have to say that was a massive part of my journey in recovery too, was finding movement and ecstatic dance and 5 rhythms that really give me more of me. And just to let everyone know too, Right Recovery for You, there is a book by Marilyn Bradford, and you can get that on Amazon. Sue has it there. It's a brilliant book, and it's really
incredible
for everyone. There's so many massive gems in there. I am doing a Right Recovery for You book club in a couple of weeks. And you can also go to YouTube. There's some Right Recovery for You videos. Go check out Sue. She's on Sue Cotter on Facebook. Nurture You with Sue is her Facebook page. Her website is above in the description here.
Thank you.
If this topic has spoken to you today, if there's anything we've talked about that you'd like to know more about, send us a message. We're always happy to talk. And if you're looking for someone in your area or something like that, me and Sue are both massive connectors. We'll find anyone in any part of the world.
Any corner. Just ask us. We love finding for people.
We do,
and it's so funny. There was something that I found in this book, and I'm looking, here it is, right now I found it. And before we leave, it says, that which you are unwilling to be aware of owns you.
Wow.
And it really shows me.
I read that last night.
Oh my God, I have it underlined.
That's under the review section.
Yeah, totally right. That which you are unwilling to be aware of owns you. So if there is something that you're unwilling to look at, something maybe that occurred when you were younger, something that maybe that, whatever that is, whatever that energy is. It could have been bullying, it could have been, some assault or whatever that is. If you're willing to actually look at it, and you're willing to look at it from maybe as the adult you are today, the minute you choose to acknowledge something, that's where the change begins. That's where the change begins, and it's I'm so excited actually, because it's whoever sees this, please reach out and ask us, because both of us are just we'll contact each other, and we'll ask anybody if they have some, no matter where you are in the world, there's people everywhere.
Yeah, there really is. You just gotta choose it.
Yeah, totally.
Well, thank you so much, Sue Cotter. Thanks, everyone. We'll be back again next week. Bye for now.
See you later. Bye.